Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of your very channel, the Student Insights podcast. So today's episode is all about UK. So if you're thinking about traveling to UK for your further education, this episode is for you. It is specifically towards Scotland. I have my very dear friend Rajkaran Singh as a speaker today, who will be guiding us on his personal journey. He's doing PhD there. He's been there since the past 5 years. I think this is the first speaker who has stayed in the other country for such a long time in the series of interviews that you have seen in the previous episodes. So let's welcome him together on the episode. Hello, Rajkaran Singh. How are you doing today?
Hi, Harpreet. I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I would like to just tell the listeners that we actually met in the UK because I came back to India in 2016, and if I remember, you were in the 2015 September intake. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, I joined in that
Yeah,
batch.
yeah. So you came to UK and I left UK. That was like at the very same time.
Yeah, I guess we had like 5 to 6 months
Yeah,
overlapping in the UK. And that was a very nice phase, I guess, when we made good friends with each other.
and it's been like after almost 5 years that we are meeting today, thanks to this interview.
Yeah, thanks for the initiative. It's really a nice excuse to maybe talk to you.
Sure.
It's
And
my
firstly,
pleasure and an honor, I guess, to be at your channel.
pleasure is all ours. And firstly, thanks a lot for taking time from a busy schedule, especially you being at the end of your PhD. Every minute counts for you, and on a weekend, you could be just relaxing, but you are taking out time for us. Really appreciate for that.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Okay, then let's begin. Let's introduce to the audience who is Rajkaran Singh. Could you give us a small introduction about who you are and what you're doing currently?
Sure, Harpreet. Hi, everyone. As Harpreet mentioned, my good name is Rajkaran Singh. I'm doing my PhD here in informatics at the University of Edinburgh. Informatics comes under the canopy of computer sciences,
Mhm.
broadly speaking. I joined here as a CDT student. So CDTs are the new programs initiated in UK. These are joint Masters plus PhD programs. So I did
Mhm.
my 1 year of MSc here in 2015, and then starting September of 2016, I switched to my full-time PhD course. And now I'm nearing the end of my PhD. Before coming to Edinburgh, I did my master's in IIT Madras, and
Mhm.
my undergrad is also from one of the NITs in Himachal Pradesh. I have
Okay,
also worked with Samsung as a software engineer for a couple of years in their Noida office. So that's me.
that's great. That's great. So PhD is actually a very big commitment, especially it takes roughly 5 to 6 or 7 years, depending upon your area in which you are. So could you just tell us about how did you decide on pursuing a PhD into the field of informatics?
Yeah, sure. I had been interested into research. I mean, things like what scientists do have always fascinated me. And
Mhm.
after some point, we feel that the job that you get as in industry gets mundane, and you want to improve over it. You want to do something better,
Mhm.
and to do that better thing, to get those more challenging and more fulfilling roles, you need to have higher caliber. And so this was basically the reason that I wanted to improve my caliber and to solve some real world problems, and to
Okay.
build those qualities, that skill set in me. I pursued PhD. And partially another reason is that I am inclined towards academia as well, because till today I see most of the advanced and significant research comes out of academia. So being a scientist or a researcher based in academia had been my motivation to get into this PhD.
That's great. So once you decided on pursuing your PhD, how did you finalize UK as a destination other on the other destinations that you have US, you have Canada. So why did you choose UK specifically for that?
Yeah, sure. There are multiple reasons actually.
Hmm.
I was already into research when I was doing my master's in IIT.
Okay.
And I was looking at options all over the world. My first preference was some English speaking country for obvious reasons.
Hmm.
And the options I had were the States, then Canada, UK, and then Australia, probably, including New Zealand as well. Uh,
Okay.
US seems to be the de facto standard. I mean, many people do go through the route of GRE and TOEFL and then end up being in a US university, which is good, and they have high standards of higher education.
Hmm.
But their structure includes doing courses in the first 2 years, very rigorous courses, and then moving on to research essentially starting in the end of their second year. But me being a master's, having a master's already, I felt doing this courses once again is not a good use of my time. So that was one of the reasons I cut out USA from the list. And
Okay.
also, second reason for leaving out US was that your partners, as they would be joining you if you have a dependent, they would join as your dependent visas. So
Hmm.
in US, your partners are not allowed to work, but you get this
Okay.
freedom in some other countries, like in UK. So this was also one of the deciding factors for me to pursue higher education in UK. I did apply for some other European universities in Australia
Okay.
as well, but I guess UK had to still be in my preference.
Okay. After deciding the country, how did you shortlist University of Edinburgh? As you mentioned, you had many other universities on the list. So how did you shortlist this as your final one?
Yeah, sure. So PhD is a very personalized journey. You look at many things because you are committing 4 to 5 years of your time,
Yeah.
not to a university, but to a supervisor. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
end up being you end up working with a single person who would be your advisor for 4 to 5 years in a confined lab. So that is essentially what matters a lot.
Hmm.
University matters, brand matters, and I had been conscious about the brand as well, given my previous background, having tags of IITs and NITs. Sorry for bragging a bit, but
No, no worries. You deserve it,
so
bro.
and I was thanks. So I ended up being in world's top 20 university. So that had been there in my mind, but I think more important was who I ended up working with for my PhD. And when I was doing my master's, I started doing research on who are the people who work in the areas that I am interested in, specifically mobile networks and 5G and machine learning sort of areas. I contacted their students. I got hold of a couple of them whom I could talk to and see how the advisor is. What is his mode of operation with his students? Is it one to one or is it group meetings and collaborations that he encourages? There are many
Hmm.
factors that I did look, and then I directly emailed instead of applying through the university's general website. The first step
Okay.
was for me was emailing them and reaching out to them, a precise and a brief email to ask them how do they feel. Are they open to taking PhD students? Do they have vacancies? Do they have scholarship for students? And if they reply, then I would carry on conversations with them, leading finally to where I am today. I guess this is the aspect where I can delve more as well, maybe later in the talk or
No, you can just, give us a brief about, you mentioned you had kind of done your background research into the tutors that you would be working with, the brand value you're talking about. So how did you gauge a university? Did you go deep into, as you mentioned, about the people who are associated with the course? Also about the university ranking in the various lists, what are the facilities that you would be getting, and even after graduation, the kind of exposure. So what parameters did you have more than the rankings and the brand value?
Yeah, I guess all of them. Of course, ranking was the first thing that I would see.
Mm-hmm.
But I must mention that this should not be the only thing. We should not just get carried away with ranking or brand value, but it does help. It does help when you have this name on your CV and you are into the job market. It
Mm-hmm.
does matter a bit. But if you are, I guess, among top 100 world's best universities, it shouldn't be the case if you're not very selective in that case. Other things definitely include city, which is a very important criteria. It determines how your social life will
Yes.
be when you end up
Networking.
being in the university. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I can't emphasize how important it is, because you will have a social life beyond your university. You will make friends, and if it's just a small town which are like known as university cities, then you wouldn't find anyone except your colleagues probably. So, but the good point of being in a just university city is that it will not be very expensive. You will save a lot of whatever you earn based on your funding or your part-time job, but you won't have any social life. So maybe it's a trade-off and depends upon what you want to choose. So city definitely comes into picture because you're expensive, and other related things do matter.
That's
Uh,
true.
Beyond that, every city, yeah, I guess so. After that, I would say that every city has a vibe, has a culture. So do take that into account as well. How many international students your
Mm-hmm.
university takes every year? Because once you are a global student, you are not just in your native country. I would say that you should try to connect and maybe make friends with people from all over the world. Try
That's
to
very important.
learn. Yeah, I guess it's very important to because everyone comes from their own values and their own cultures, their own different lifestyles, and it's very important to understand and appreciate those differences. We just cannot say one way of doing something is right and the other way is completely wrong. There are two right ways, but two very different ways of doing the same thing. And this kind of
Yes.
opens us up to listening to new ideas and embracing new valuable changes in our life. So that international students intake is another important aspect that one should consider whenever applying for the universities.
That's true, and I think it brightens your horizon, widens your horizons in the sense that we have been kind of being trained or nurtured since childhood in a certain kind of thought process, a certain of approaching things. But when we interact with people from other countries, other cultures, we get exposed to new ways of dealing with situations, and in many ways, kind of avoiding
Sure.
or making sure it doesn't happen to you. It kind of broadens your thinking and acceptance as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and many good universities do include induction weeks.
Yeah.
Probably I can talk more about it when we discuss that in detail. And
Sure.
that induction week especially have a component called culture shock related workshops, where they essentially discuss all these things and let us know how to be open to everything.
Okay. So, and also once you decided on the university, what was the application for you as a PhD student? What is just as you mentioned, you started mailing them, having conversations, and then was it just sending a mark sheets, or did you have to write another essay or an SOP separately for PhD? So, what was the process for you?
Yeah, I guess when I started, it was through email conversations.
Okay.
I did write to many professors whom I thought could be my potential supervisors.
Okay.
Uh, the bad part is not many of them reply. They don't come back to you because the professors, as such, the researchers, they are very busy with their own stuff. They have teaching, they have writing grants and proposals, guiding their own PhD research students. So not many of them come back to you if they don't have any opening. But some who do come back, that kind of initiates the discussion, and you feel that okay, there is a chance with these people. So let's say maybe only 10% people do reply,
Okay.
and this 10% is the number which doesn't happen with everyone. And the reason is, and this is what I see today as well, I get many such emails from many people from my alma mater, that their emails are very generic.
Hmm.
They write a single common email and send it to maybe thousands, if not if not maybe more than that, of professors or maybe researchers like me. asking me that I want to pursue higher studies. Can you guide me? And this is a very generic question. And me not understanding what aspect should I guide, because I could talk about 1,000 different things again about guiding him. So being specific was the key for me. I knew what I wanted to do, what field I was in, and the professor I was emailing, he was also in that field. And that
Okay.
way we could connect easily. And the response rate for me was very high, which I guess is the tip for everyone who is taking this route, that look at every professor's website. They have dedicated websites where they talk about what they work on, and then write
Hmm.
customized email. Do not maybe write very lengthy emails. Write customized emails where you could actually see this is the interest of that person and how you can add on to their research, to their group. And most probably you will get a reply if the person sees this as a genuine email and genuine person interested, because professors are also looking for motivated and interested people, especially PhD students, to work on. So this was the first phase, applying, like writing to them. And then those who did ask for my interest, they asked me to then send me detailed CV of my recent conference publications, of my marks, and asked me to write a research proposal and statement
Okay.
of purpose. These are very essential things for maybe masters, but more important for PhD students as well. That what is your research vision?
Yes.
So I was asked to write it for a couple of universities, but not for the universities to assess. I directly shared it with the people I
Professors.
was hoping to work with. Yeah, and after they reviewed it, they were happy, they were convinced. Then they finally asked me to apply officially through the university portal. That
Okay.
then was mostly a formality. I did have to go through that formal procedure, but once my application was submitted, I knew someone would be backing my application for my admission to the PhD course. This maybe is not the procedure for the people who are going for undergrad or master's studies,
Yes.
but for PhDs, this definitely helps because you are not joining a university or a department per se, but you are joining a specific lab. And there is only one person who would control who joins my lab and who does not. So, but yeah, I had to appear for TOEFL and complete other formalities and fulfill all of those formalities. Apart from that, I guess everyone has to go through that. But this writing research proposal or having Skype interviews before even I started applying officially had been a different thing for me.
Okay, so the approach is really different in your case because as a master's student, for me as well, for my course, I had to go. I did first my submit my portfolio, then I had a Skype interview with my program leader, and then that was it for me. But in your case, you decided to actually go from the within and come outside to the university approach. So it wasn't from like putting an application between thousands and the hope that would get selected. You kind of made your foot firm within the university with the person would be approving the proposals and then kind of applying and making sure that I have a sure short chance at this university.
Yeah, I think that definitely increased my chances. There could be hiccups as well, which I did face for some other university where professor was very much willing to take me on, but the department interfered, saying that the professor already had many PhD students. So all that bureaucratic things do come up. But otherwise, yeah, this definitely helps, and probably it is the same with US as well. My friends who did
Hmm.
apply to the universities in the states, they also preferred talking to that person first, so that that it would increase their chances, and it helps if you already know the person you would be working with. Maybe you have met them in conferences or your previous advisors in your home universities back in India probably already know some people outside, so they can write a good recommendation for you, or they can.
Hmm.
I mean, it also helps if you do have referrals that can lead you to good places.
In your opinion, how early should an applicant start this process if he or she wants to pursue a PhD?
I think it's a very tedious process. It takes very long, especially the phase for me, which was most crucial, was to shortlist whom
Hmm.
I would be working with. I would go through the websites of different universities, their different departments, and then look at the list of people and finally see, okay, these people match my profile, and I would shortlist them. So this was very tedious thing for me, and I
Mhm.
probably, let's say, I started this program here in September, and I started looking for such people a year ago, like in
Okay.
September the previous year. Uh, yeah, because it involves it's a lot of mental stress as well, right? Looking at websites and doing the repetitive thing again and again to find the best matches for you. But once you know that those people, you write those emails, it gets easier, because that was the major thing for us. Then the application procedure and other things were a formality. Of course, writing research proposal takes some time,
Yes.
and while you are doing these things, you will be probably preparing for for TOEFL or IELTS.
Mm.
So all these things would require some time. So it's not I was working full time on this for 1 year, but I kept on doing this, like sparing a couple of hours every day for at least, let's say, 1 year. But the last 4 to 5 months, I had been relaxing once I got the confirmation.
That's good. Once you finalize the university, you finalize destination. Let's move on to packing. So, for me
Yeah.
as a master's student, my perspective on packing for a year is very different. For you, who's a PhD guy who's be staying at the country for a period of 4 to 5 years, so what are your tips? What should one bring to UK from India, and what one shouldn't?
Uh, I'm not sure if it is much different. Of course, our stay is longer,
Hmm.
but we do get most of the things in UK as well. Almost everything that I could have bought from my home country, I got it here as well, though a bit expensive. And
Expensive
this feels a lot in the initial few months, but then we get used to it and we stop doing these pounds to rupees
calculations.
conversions as well.
That's
Yeah,
true.
but first few months we feel it's really horrible. And
Yeah.
why I'm paying so much for just a sandwich?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Actually, it's
Yeah,
a mentality. You kind of, it becomes a very subconscious thing. You enter a store, you just see the price tag, and without even thinking, your mind starts converting, and you're like, no, this is expensive. No, this is no, I'll go for this today, but I don't have this in the evening now to compensate because I'm having this in the afternoon now.
yeah. True. This conversation goes on, especially for the initial few months. But then you get used to it, and then it becomes normal. It is expensive. That's true. There is no denying it. But probably if someone is working part time, the wages, the wages are very high. And for me, my scholarship had been decent enough for me to sustain my living expensive in a decent way. So yeah, I mean, if I say that it's expensive, then I should also say that I should acknowledge that I'm also earning a lot if I do convert it to rupees.
Sure,
So it gets
sure.
balanced out. And specifically in terms of packing, I think it's for maybe initial few days when you don't know where you will live, probably in a hotel or Airbnb. It's good to pack something ready to eat, which uh, has a longer lifetime as well,
Sure
that could maybe
life.
survive you for a week.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's I think it again depends upon where you end up being. If it's a very small university city, then you may not be able to go to these supermarkets every day. But in a city like Edinburgh, you I mean, in 10 minutes walk, you can reach any of these stores. So it's very
Yeah.
easy. It's maybe difficult for someone who is coming out of Edinburgh from India for the first time to get used to these new things, new brands, new way of maybe buying stuff, self checkout things. But
Yes.
that's just a hiccup for a day or two. But once you get used to it, it's I think we get everything here in terms of utensils. Maybe yeah, we get again every such thing here. Probably pressure cookers are something which are not of very good quality that I've seen here. Maybe those Indian style utensils if we are used to
Yeah.
kadhais and other things. But otherwise, yeah,
Very
we should be
specific
fine pretty
stuff.
much. Yeah, which I mean, people here they are not used to eating or cooking in such utensils. And same goes with clothing. We do get all of the most of the clothing which is there as well, similar clothing. but yeah, again, for based on a city where you're going, it could be that you need some extra layering because
Layering.
in Europe it's generally a bit cold. So I would still suggest that you should do most of the shopping after coming here. No,
Mm-hmm.
no need to carry most of the like travel light. Don't carry all those heavy luggages. It just makes it inconvenient. Just have something sufficient that, even in terms of clothing, that can sustain you for a month or two. A light jacket, so that if it's cold, you could maybe have multiple layerings of sweater, sweatshirt, and then a jacket on top of it. And then you could maybe buy good quality or heavy jackets once you're here. So
That's
yeah,
that's
essentially, I would say in short that you shouldn't worry too much about what you need to carry from India. Apparently, we get everything here, and maybe a bit expensive, but not reasonable. It's still reasonably priced.
That's good. After the packing, there comes the flight booking system, or the flight booking, the time you book a flights. So, do you have any special tips for when should one start booking the flights or start looking towards it?
Yeah, I think it's good to start it as early as possible because the prices would rise early, and when they see that it's the university season, people
Mhm.
like many students would be traveling. They do increase prices very soon. So it's better maybe let's say 3 months in advance if you do know your dates, if you know when the university starts. But if not, I think still you should do it within 2 months period, just to avoid paying too much on the fares. You would get availability. You may get cheaper flights, which are like indirect flights, and it
Mhm.
again depends upon the destination. But yeah, you would end up paying more. I think this is the trade-off. If you have uncertainty, you can wait, but yeah, you'll end up paying slightly higher price than others.
So, guys, this was the first part for UK along with Rajkaran Singh. Now, the second part that will be coming in the next week. That's on Sunday. So, as you know, every Sundays at 7 a.m. we upload new episodes. So, this was the first part in which we briefly covered the very initial phase of his journey, and there is more stuff to come down in the second episode. Hope you liked the first one and hope you found some value from it. Please do make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you like my work, please do comment down below. And also, if you have any further doubts or any further clarifications that you think, or any topics that I might have missed, please make sure to mention that down in the comments. And I'll make sure the next time, whenever I record another interview with any student for the same country, I'll make sure to get those questions answered and your query solved. So please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and also to spread the word with your family and friends if you think these episodes might be helpful for these guys. Which while listening to these personal narratives and journeys, a prospective student will definitely benefit from the tips and tricks that these guys share and the mistakes which they might have done so they do not end up repeating the same mistakes again. So, and their journey is very pleasant. Also, please make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. The ID is the Student Insights Podcast. On Instagram is first you gotta notify about the next upcoming video. Also, there are some useful links which I usually share on Instagram and Facebook, for which if you're a student, those could benefit in terms of accommodation, in terms of local sites from where you can buy things for cheap, I don't know, all lifestyle hacks. So please make sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The link has been described in the description below. Please click on that and follow us down there as well. Hope you liked the first part. Please stay tuned for the second part in the coming weeks. Till then, please take care, stay safe, see you, bye bye.